Well, hey, hello, and how are you? Come on in. Today we are going to talk about this new viral K-tip thing, and it's not new. And we are going to talk about how your ancestors blow dry their hair without electricity, or how they're drying their hair in Africa without electricity. And I will have you know they're not doing wash and goes. Not like you think. Okay, so let's hop into it. And if you're easily offended, baby, this is not gonna be the video for you. If you're new to my channel, hey, welcome. My name is Cynple. I am a licensed cosmetologist, herbalist, trichologist, research scientist, and owner of Cynple Apothecary. What you're looking at right now are K-tip hair extensions. Now, you guys are under the illusion that this is new, but what if I told you that this is over a decade old? The video that you're watching right now is newer, but this clip, a couple of these clips that you're going to see, these videos are 12 years old. And the way that Black women are putting K-tips in are going to be so damaging to the hair long term. Most of you are leaving Team Natural and going running to keratin, K-tip extensions, tapings, micro links, because you guys think that is something new, but it's not. I received my cosmetology license in 2009, and these were out long before I received my cosmetology license. And the K stands for keratin, right? It is a keratin based glue that you are attaching to your hair with heat. The reason that most Black women did not get them in hair salons is because the place that we focus on the most when you're styling your hair is the root. And a big problem that a lot of women has is combing the hair on a regular basis. And if you are a person who has a problem combing your hair, oh baby, that's a whole nother story. But the majority of you that are running to these K-tip extensions have damaged hair. And I remember when I was in cosmetology school, when the Team Natural community first took over, everybody wanted to argue about the difference between hair extensions and sew-ins, hair extensions and weaves. And most Black women get offended, like there's no difference. There is a very big difference. When you get hair extensions, you are extending the hair that is already on your head. When you get a weave, you are weaving your natural hair up and adding hair. So what you are looking at right now, this is somebody who just would do a few of the K-tips. K-tips are supposed to be for volume, but the way that Black women are now doing them, they're doing these keratin infusion, because that's what we used to call them, keratin infusion. They're doing them over the entire head, and that's wrong. You're only supposed to do them for volume, and everything works until it doesn't. What you're looking at right now, those are micro wefts. And the reason that I'm showing you this is because for whatever reason in the Black community, everybody likes to make hair extensions or weaves a Black girl thing, and it's not a Black girl thing. Every woman walking the face of this earth wears some form of enhancements, or as it pertains to their hair. When you wear hair extensions are for healthy hair that is already healthy, that you're just adding volume to and a little bit of length. When you're getting hair extensions, you are extending the health of your hair, right? You are extending the length of your hair, thus the term extensions. Versus getting a weave, I am putting your hair up and I'm weaving hair extensions. I'm weaving artificial hair into your hair to mimic something. This is the difference. But see, the water got muddied because this is the representation that everybody sees. When you say sew-in, when you think Black hair, this is what everybody sees, and this shouldn't be the norm, but unfortunately it is. So if you think that K-tips are going to be something like a sew-in where you can just leave it, and you know how when you go get a weave, the cosmetologist tells you like, oh, you have to make sure you don't leave this in past 3 months, or don't leave this in past 2 months and make sure you're coming in every 3 weeks for maintenance, most of y'all be like, girl, I ain't coming in for all that. Let me tell you something. You get some K-tips and you decide you're not gonna listen, girl, you're gonna be bald head. I promise you. And the thing with K-tips is I'm gonna get a whole bunch of people in the comments, right? A whole bunch of grandkids are gonna come and be like, I use them all the time. I've been doing it for years. I want you to do something. Go look at a picture of your hair blown out before you ever got those K-tips, and then start taking a picture of your hair every time you take them out. And you're going to notice the density. When you get K-tips, I want you to first take a picture of how your hair looks blown out and straightened, right? Then get your K-tips, take them out 100% after it's time to take a break, and then blow out your hair and see if you have the same density. And I'm gonna tell you that it's not gonna be the same thing. They are not. K-tips are not for women who don't comb their hair on a regular basis, for women who have hair shaft disorders that look like this. K-tips are for a very, very small group of women, and it is not like, oh, this is going to be my new look. Now I wear K-tips all the time. Over time, your hair is going to thin out. It is. That's why it's been around for over a decade, and y'all are just now doing it. A lot of the girls that are doing it now are like 28. Some of them aren't even in their 30s yet, right? So 12 years ago, you were 15. You 27, 28, 12 years ago, you were like 15, 16. So I'm not trying to argue with people, because I'm not going to argue with somebody who was 15 or 16 when they were doing K-tips. Like, it's crazy. These have been around forever, just like keratin treatments have been around forever. But like this video is going to show, all of the things that y'all have been doing to the hair shaft, your hair shaft has been slowly weathering over time. And then now your cuticle is bust wide open, the hair is damaged, so keratin to the rescue. And the artificial keratin protein is going to fill in those holes. Then the heat is going to melt all of this artificial protein to mimic a pretend cuticle. That's how it goes. So now this is someone that is in Africa, and what she's doing is demonstrating how they blow dry their hair. This is her hair after it's been blown out, right? So she's getting water. Now, of course, I'm gonna do the voiceover because I had to edit it down so I could use the clip, right? But just like when you wash your hair, you turn on running water, right? Unless you're living off grid or something, you get your water like her. But just because she's in Africa doesn't mean that she's shampooing her hair with coconut oil. They are using water and shampoo the same exact way that we do. Everything is exactly the same. And what I need you guys to do is stop depending on YouTube and social media to give you all of your information, and really go look in your history. Or how about you get to know or visit some of the places that you are mimicking the wrong way, because in Africa they're not co-washing their hair. They're not. The hair growth cycle is a little shorter than normal, because just like some of our hair practices in the states are wrong, right? They put a lot of oils and butters and greases on their hair, and when you see the way that they straighten their hair, you will get a little bit of an understanding why. But the same way that I teach you here that oils and butters and greases slow down the hair growth cycle, same exact thing there. It's not different country to country. Like, the human body is the human body. But again, I want you to notice how they're shampooing the hair, right? So the first thing she's doing is getting a stone. In America, or not even America, I'm sorry, around the world, we use blow dryers when you have electricity or whatever their circumstances, right? I'll leave a link to the videos in the description box below. But they are using an open fire, and she's heating up a stone, and then she's gonna wrap a cloth around her hand to hold the stone, the hot stone, in her hand, and use the vapors from the stone along with the hot stone itself on her hair on her client's hair, as well as holding it in her hand to blow dry her hair. So when we're constantly like, oh my God, what did our ancestors do? They used stones. So now that they've made all the sacrifices that they've made to make it so that we can level up, or not level up, but so that we can create new things, the same way that you guys don't go to work in a horse anymore, in a horse and buggy anymore. You get in a car, right? We are not necessarily always using stones to blow dry our hair. Now you just use a regular blow dryer, and not a glory hole blow dryer that you have to stick your hair in and press a button for $500. You can get a blow dryer for like $20. You can get one for like $15. Obviously, the more you spend in some cases, the better it'll be, but Hot Tools blow dryer is an amazing one, and I think you can get one of those for like under $30, right? But again, as you guys can see, this is the first way that traditionally for centuries our ancestors would blow dry their hair. This was the thing. Our ancestors had braids and different protective styles, and they dried their hair first. And I would have you know that it is a lot more likely for you to have heat damage, like I like to call it, using a stone than it is for you using a blow dryer the right way. If you don't know what you're doing with anything, you're gonna cause damage. But baby, the reason that we do things, the reason that things change and we don't do them the same exact way that our ancestors did it, is because it makes things easier. If you see, mama had to keep leaving, going back and forth, putting the rock back on the heat, she kept going back and forth, but it got the job done for her. And this is just one of the many ways that your ancestors used to blow dry their hair. But just putting a whole bunch of gels and butters and creams on your hair and just walking outside, that's not like 100% what all of them did. Did some of them just like decide to do a wash and go? Yeah. Does that mean that that's how you're supposed to do your hair? No. There's a whole lot of things that they do in certain African tribes that you don't do today. But yeah, here is another way of blow drying, right? Instead of using a stone, this is the inner parts of a plant, and there are holes put within this plant so that way that the vapor can flow through to dry the hair, the same way that a blow dryer does. Do you guys see the way that our ancestors, because these are two traditional ways, right, that have been passed down through centuries, right? So these are just different ways that they manipulated the elements to be able to dry their hair. Now in 2024, and the year that the blow dryer was created, it was like, okay, instead of us using rocks or bark, let's go ahead and use this tool. The same way that you're no longer riding a horse to work every morning. Like, you either take a car, get an Uber, drive the bus, taxi, something, right? And so as you can see, they put a whole lot of oil and grease and things of that nature on the hair, but she explains, they actually talk about it in both videos, is to protect from the heat, because it is a high level of heat. Now, if I'm not mistaken, she has stones, with hot stones within that portion that's like open. There are hot stones in there, and like a certain type of choco, and that's creating the steam and the pressure that she needs to blow dry the hair. And I'm sorry, but both of these methods are 10 times hotter than a regular blow dryer. There's never going to be a time, unless you use a really, really expensive professional blow dryer, there's never going to be a time where the blow dryer is so hot that you're going to get like burns that require you to go to the hospital. But blow drying your hair with rocks, like our ancestors, that definitely will. So when we are constantly having this conversation like, oh my God, we need to stop doing that. Our ancestors, they didn't have electricity, so what were they doing, Sid? You don't know what you're talking about. No, you don't know what you're talking about. And today is Monday and it's my filming day, but mentally I just can't get out here and film the new videos that are coming up when we still having these little pitter patter conversations. This don't even make sense. So can we stop talking about this now? Our ancestors didn't blow dry their hair. Yes, they did. They used barks, they used the inner working of leaves, they used palm trees, they used stones, they used certain crystals. What are you talking about? Sometimes they had certain types of fireplaces and they would sit in front of the fireplace to let the steam do something to their hair while they did their hair in certain styles, just to make sure that the hair stayed stretched. They understood how to set the hydrogen bond centuries ago. Y'all the only ones that argue about it now. Y'all the only ones watching and going. You go to Africa, girl, they blow drying your hair, girl, and then they're gonna braid that stuff up. And if they don't blow dry, girl, it's because they don't have one or they don't feel like it. But please stop saying that. Find something else to go back and forth about. Everybody find something else to debate about. Like, oh, our ancestors didn't use blow dryers. Yes, they did. Yes, they did their own version of it. So my challenge to you is, instead of us constantly trying to go back to the past and use the past for an excuse of why we don't follow certain patterns and routines, why don't we just set new patterns and new routines? Because if we're really going to sit here and say that the way the hair is blown out now is so damaging in comparison to the way that our ancestors used to do it, it's absolutely crazy. Is crazy. And I'm not saying anything bad about the way that they're doing it. This is a cultural practice. But as we evolve, as the centuries go on, as the years go on, different practices, they switch up. And I actually this is really, really, really cool to see. Actually, I would imagine that the hair would look even better if there was less oil added. However, I do understand her reasoning behind adding so much oil. But if you want to make the connection on why the hair growth cycle is slower, then we can jump into the oils, the butters, the greases, because all of these things end up clogging the pores and the follicle. But once again, I completely understand, because you'll notice that the more she's doing this, you're also noticing that it's starting to look a little less and less greasy. So these are things that everybody should know about. And I want y'all to remember, both of these videos are here on the Lord's Here internet, right? So when we're constantly making those statements, our ancestors did, girl, hush your mouth, because yes, they did. Your ancestors were definitely using blow dryers, and I can promise you, in Africa, even in tribes like this one, or even in Africa where they have electricity and running water, baby, they're using blow dryers. 1000%. So American women that are walking around with wet hair using Africa, and the fact that they didn't have blow dryers as the reasoning behind why you allow your hair to air dry, of why you are always having breakage because you can't get a comb through your hair because you only air dry your hair. You have to use another excuse, babe, because the excuse that your ancestors didn't do it, that's not going to work anymore. It's not going to work, because it's not true. Your ancestors blow dried their hair, and I'm just showing you 2 of about 12 different methods that I learned. These are just 2. So at first I was going to cut it up a little bit and slice it up, but no, I decided I'm going to go ahead and show you as much through as I possibly can. She has no electricity. This blowout looks the same as the majority of y'all's blowouts, and this is in Africa. This is in Africa. Is there anybody who disagrees that this is Africa that we're looking at right now? I really, really want us to get to a place where we can have conversations, and I really want us to get to a place where we can be accountable to each other, because All of the ways that y'all like to wear your hair, these are hairstyles. And there's a difference between a hairstyle and the way that you're supposed to wear your hair daily to have healthy hair. Most of the hairstyles that y'all love to talk about were like for special occasions, were like bridal styles, but braids and things of that nature are fine, but not when you're packing the follicles full of edge control, calling it braiding gel. Baby, it's not braiding gel, it's a polymer that blocks the follicle and causes seborrheic dermatitis. Braids are great. Yes, they're amazing. They're amazing. But are they supposed to be worn every single day of your life? No, they are not. Now, if we're talking about locks, that's something else. If you want to have your hair in a really set style and you don't want to do heat or anything, you don't want to use combs, brushes, my baby, you need to get locks, because the conduit of not combing or brushing your hair is it locking up. So if you are a person who just wants, all you want to do is just clean your hair and have it manicured, then you need to get locks, and there's nothing wrong with that. But all of these top knots, these are all like styles for special occasions. If you have a top knot bun every day of your life, you're gonna have breakage. If you have bantu knots every day of your life, you're gonna have breakage. But again, get locks. Beautiful locks that look like these. There's so many different forms, but you've yet to see any forms of wash and goes. As we're going through all of these different tribal hairstyles, every last one of them were stretched. Every last one. And the clay that she's putting in the hair, they are really not putting it in the scalp. If you notice, there's a difference in color between the scalp and the ends, even on the baby's hair. Pay attention. These are things that you need to pay attention to. Look, the clay is on her hair, not her scalp. You can see her black roots. These are things that you have to pay attention to. This is a hairstyle for a event, probably a wedding, somebody's having a baby, something like that. But that's not an everyday thing. Wearing tribal hairstyles every day is how you get breakage. That's not how you retain length. It's not. So these are things that you really have to think about. And upon all of the videos that I've told you about where they separated cosmetology from braiding and all of these things, this is why it's important. Because as we're talking about like all of these different hairstyles in Africa and stuff like that, these are hairstyles, but your hairstyle has nothing to do with the health of your follicle. Absolutely nothing. The cuteness of your top knot bun, my baby, has nothing to do with the health of your follicle. How nice your edges are laying have absolutely nothing to do with your sebum flow or how much oil your sebaceous gland is producing. Nothing. Those two things are not interconnected. That's why in the state of Nevada you have a cosmetology license and a hairstylist license, because these two things are not the same. Hairstyling is an entity all of its own, and black women confuse hairstyling with hair care, and this is why y'all can't retain length. You think that the hairstyling portion of black hair is all you're supposed to stick to without really sitting down and learning and getting into the nitty-gritty of the real science behind it. So let me know what you think about this in the comments. Hopefully we'll be able to get back to our regularly scheduled programming where you can see my beautiful face, but I just have to get through this because oh my god, every time I get on and I see K-tips, all I want to do is just scream at my phone. Actually, I do scream at my phone. It drives me crazy. Y'all, like, new K-tips is called keratin fusion. That's what it's called, but they nigger rig everything and they done changed the name around to make you think that it's something new. K-tips, it stands for keratin tip infusions that have been around for over a decade, and I'm gonna leave a couple of the different channels in the description box below so you can go see it for yourself. As a black woman, K-tips are not gonna be your save all. K-tips are gonna be the thing that make you be bald head in the next 15 years. And I don't care what anybody says. Of course, women who are doing them are not going to agree with me, especially because some of these girls are out here charging people $10,000 for it. Y'all are getting robbed. And the reason that y'all are getting robbed is because y'all don't do your research. It literally takes a freaking second to get on Google and type in where did K-tips come from, and then it'll take you to YouTube from 12 years ago, and then you can head over to all of those women, right? You can head over to their YouTubes and you can go on their website and they charging $200-$300, and y'all got people talking about 5,000, 10,000. Y'all getting played. And the way that they're putting it on every single strand of your hair except for the perimeter. Oh my God, when I tell y'all, that is literally the worst thing you can do. But I digress. Every time I say something, nobody listens until they go bald head. So I've accepted the villain role. I don't have a problem with it. To be honest, I kind of like it. So I've embraced it.